Welcome to the Deep Dive, your essential shortcut to truly being well-informed. We take the day's most intriguing stories, unpack them, and reveal the hidden insights and surprising connections that help you understand the world around you. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into the daily pulse of India, drawing fresh insights from headlines published on June 25, 2025. It's a truly fascinating mosaic, covering everything from the highs and lows on the cricket pitch to fiery political debates, from India's ambitious space exploration to crucial issues of consumer safety right here at home. Our mission, as always, is to help you understand not just what is happening, but why it matters. We connect the dots across seemingly disparate topics, showing you how everything from a sports loss to a policy decision can ripple through society. We've got a lot to explore, so let's get started. All right, let's kick things off with a story that's significant for any cricket-loving nation, and especially for India. The recent Test match loss against England at Headingley. Now, this wasn't just any loss. It was a dramatic one, almost baffling when you first hear the statistics.
Right, it really makes you wonder.
You might wonder, how does a team lose a Test match? Especially when 5 of their batsmen scored individual centuries.
Exactly, 500s. That's usually a match-winning effort.
That's precisely what happened here. England managed to chase down a formidable target of 371 runs, which, to put it in perspective, was not only the highest fourth innings target ever successfully chased at Headingley,
A ground known for difficult chases.
but also the second highest in all of England in Test history. It speaks volumes about England's resilience, but also about something profoundly amiss within the Indian side.
Definitely. Something wasn't clicking.
The English side, on the other hand, just had their players step up spectacularly. Ben Duckett was truly superb, scoring a masterful 149 runs, which was pivotal in their chase.
A brilliant innings under pressure.
He got solid support from Zach Crawley, who added a crucial 65, and then, as he so often does, Joe Root anchored the innings with an unbeaten 50, guiding England across the finish line with 5 wickets still in hand.
Clinical. Really clinical from them.
Their performance was clinical, truly capitalizing on every single Indian misstep.
You could see that.
But let's really dig into India's side of this story, because their failure wasn't due to a single weak link. It was a collective breakdown across almost every department.
Yeah, it seems that way. Batting, bowling, fielding.
Consider their batting, which ironically produced those 5 centuries. There were glaring issues with momentum-sapping collapses. In the first innings, India was absolutely dominant at 400 with 3.
Jaiswal, Gill, Pantal with hundreds, looking unstoppable.
You'd expect them to declare at 600 or more, putting England under immense pressure. Instead, they inexplicably crumbled to 471 all out, squandering hundreds of potential runs.
That's a huge drop-off, losing 7 wickets for just 41
It
runs.
was a monumental collapse that left so much on the table. And then a similar pattern unfolded in the second innings.
Oh, again.
After more centuries, this time from Pant and Rahul, India stood comfortably at 333 for 5, seemingly poised to set an insurmountable target.
Right, looking good again.
But once again, they collapsed, falling to 364 all out, ultimately setting what turned out to be an insufficient target for England to chase relatively comfortably.
So another collapse, losing 5 for 31 that time.
This pattern of losing momentum after strong individual starts is a significant recurring concern, hinting at deeper issues than just technical batting flaws.
It suggests maybe a mental fragility, or perhaps a lack of depth lower down.
Could be. Then you look at the bowling. Well, Jasprit Bumrah was outstanding in the first innings, taking a crucial 5-wicket haul.
Typical Bumrah brilliance.
He went completely wicketless in the second.
Wow. 0 wickets. That's unusual for him.
This allowed England's openers, Duckett and Crawley, to build an enormous 188-run partnership right at the start of the chase, effectively taking the game away from India.
That opening stand basically broke the back of the chase, didn't it?
Pretty much. The lack of sustained pressure from the other bowlers, coupled with what was widely described as a flat final day performance from the entire attack, really hampered India's ability to defend even a modest total.
They just couldn't create chances or hold the pressure.
They simply couldn't find those crucial breakthroughs when they desperately needed them.
And on a final day pitch, you'd expect more support for the bowlers.
And if the batting collapses and faltering bowling weren't enough, their fielding display was truly dismal. This compounded all the other issues.
The fielding, too. That's rough.
India dropped a staggering 7 catches throughout the match, marking their worst fielding performance since 2019.
7 catches in a test match. That's unforgivable at this level.
Can you imagine the frustration of a bowler like Bumrah when his fielders are dropping chances off his bowling, especially 3 by Yashasvi Jaiswal alone.
Ouch! Jaiswal dropped 4 in total. That's a tough debut match for him in the field, 3 off Boomer.
Even typically reliable fielders like Rishabh Pant and Ravindra Jadeja were guilty of errors, which strongly suggests this wasn't just individual lapses,
Yeah, when even the best are making mistakes.
but perhaps a broader team issue. A significant dip in concentration or intensity under immense pressure. When you hand that many lives to the opposition, especially in a chase, winning becomes an uphill battle.
Absolutely. Catches win matches, as they say. Dropping 7 is basically gifting the game away.
Finally, Shubman Gill's debut as Test captain also drew considerable scrutiny. While he performed well with the bat,
Got 100 in the first innings, right?
yes, but his leadership on the field often appeared overwhelmed. It was noted that more senior players like Pant and Rahul were seen adjusting field placements, which is typically the captain's crucial role.
That's telling. It suggests maybe he wasn't fully in control, or perhaps the senior players felt the need to step in.
Despite his obvious talent, his leadership seemed to lack decisiveness at critical moments. When you combine this with the batting collapses, the faltering bowling, and the abysmal fielding,
It paints a pretty bleak picture.
it paints a picture of a team that wasn't cohesively led or executing its plans effectively. It almost felt like a group of brilliant individuals rather than a well-oiled machine.
Right. What's truly striking here, as you've outlined, is how a team brimming with such individual brilliance, capable of producing 5 centuries in a single match, can collectively falter so dramatically across all key departments.
It's baffling.
It really forces us to consider the immense pressure of the moment, the clarity of strategy within the team, and perhaps the support system for a new captain making his debut in such a high-stakes environment.
Good points.
Cricket, perhaps more than any other sport, is a game of fine margins and collective mental fortitude under pressure. A comprehensive breakdown across batting, bowling, and fielding, topped by questions about leadership, suggests issues that go deeper than just technical skills.
Definitely feels that way.
This 8-day window before the second test at Edgbaston isn't just about making technical adjustments. It's a critical opportunity for India to rebuild confidence, redefine their tactical approach, and strengthen team cohesion. It's a moment for introspection and a complete reset.
They certainly need it. Okay, speaking of national pride and intense rivalries, our next story also touches on cricket. But this time, it's steeped in the intricate world of geopolitics. The escalating uncertainty surrounding Pakistan's participation in the 2025 Asia Cup.
Ah, yes, the Asia Cup saga continues.
This isn't just about a game. It's a reflection of much deeper political currents between India and Pakistan.
Absolutely. Cricket diplomacy or the lack thereof.
The whole situation really kicked off with what many are calling the promotional poster snub. A promotional poster for the Asia Cup, expected to be held in India in September 2025, in a T20 format was released, and conspicuously, it completely excluded Pakistan's captain.
Just left him out entirely.
Completely. It only showcased leaders from India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. For passionate fans and even seasoned commentators, this wasn't just a simple oversight.
No, you wouldn't just forget the Pakistan captain for the Asia Cup promo.
Exactly. It immediately sparked widespread speculation and frustration, acting as a clear signal that something was amiss on the geopolitical front well before any official statements were made.
A very public omission. Sends a message, intentional or not.
Adding to this sense of unease has been an unsettling silence from Pakistan. Despite the poster generating so much buzz and concern across the cricketing world, there has been no official confirmation from the Pakistan Cricket Board, or PCB, regarding their team's involvement in the tournament.
Still nothing. That just adds fuel to the fire, doesn't it?
This prolonged silence has only fueled the anxiety and deepened the overall sense of uncertainty about their participation. When a major cricketing nation is absent from promotional material and remains mum, it's a significant red flag for the sport.
Yeah, it creates a vacuum filled with speculation.
To truly grasp the gravity of this situation, you need to understand the historical context of bilateral ties between these two nations.
It's a long and complicated history.
India and Pakistan share a long, often difficult history when it comes to bilateral cricketing engagements. These struggles are largely due to security and political concerns that extend far beyond the cricket pitch.
Right. Politics invariably spills onto the pitch.
India, for instance, has repeatedly declined to tour Pakistan for bilateral series, which has forced creative solutions in tournament formats. We've seen hybrid hosting models in the past.
Like the 2023 Asia Cup. Some games in Pakistan, some elsewhere.
Exactly. A prime example. If India retains hosting rights for the 2025 event, as is currently expected, it's highly unlikely Pakistan will agree to participate under the current political climate.
Given the current tensions, it seems improbable they'd travel to India for the whole tournament.
This isn't just about venues. It's about deeply entrenched political differences affecting the sport.
Always lurking in the background.
The situation is further complicated by recent leadership dynamics and denials within the Asian Cricket Council, or ACC. PCB Chairman Mohsin Naqi's recent appointment as the new head of the ACC.
Taking over from India's Jay Shah.
Right, replacing Jay Shah, who is now with the International Cricket Council. That initially sparked speculation that India itself might pull out of the Asia Cup, perhaps in protest or due to new power dynamics.
Wow, so a reverse speculation.
But the Board of Control for Cricket in India, the BCCI, swiftly denied such claims. They affirmed their commitment to the Asia Cup and other regional tournaments, stating unequivocally that they have no intention of withdrawing.
Okay, so the BCCI says they're in, but the core issue of Pakistan's participation remains.
Exactly. So while leadership roles have shifted, the underlying political tensions that truly drive this uncertainty remain firmly in place.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this ongoing uncertainty is a stark illustration of how entrenched political friction continues to undermine sports diplomacy.
It really does.
It casts a significant, rather unfortunate shadow over what is one of the most anticipated regional cricket tournaments in Asia. It's a powerful reminder that even in sports, which are often seen as unifying forces, the political landscape can dictate outcomes far beyond the boundary ropes.
Such a shame for the fans.
For the countless fans on both sides of the border who simply want to see their teams compete regularly, this is a constant source of disappointment. It's a loss not just for the game itself, but for the broader spirit of sportsmanship and regional cooperation that such events could foster. It truly shows the deep impact of politics on what seems like a simple game.
Absolutely. Okay, shifting gears completely now. Let's talk about a deeply cultural and political debate unfolding in India, one that speaks volumes about identity and federalism. Tamil Nadu's strong stance against the central government's alleged bias toward Sanskrit.
The language debate. Always a sensitive and significant issue in India.
This isn't just about language policy. It's about the very allocation of national resources and the recognition of diverse cultural heritage.
Right, it touches upon funding, education, identity, everything.
The core of this issue, and the allegation and action taken, comes from Tamil Nadu's school education minister, Anbil Mahesh Poyamozi. He has openly criticized the Indian central government for what he calls an alleged bias toward Sanskrit.
Strong words from a state minister.
In a very direct and decisive response, he announced significant revisions to state-run school textbooks in Tamil Nadu. This isn't an isolated decision. It perfectly aligns with recent strong comments from Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin,
Who has also been quite vocal on this.
who explicitly condemned the central government's disproportionate funding for Sanskrit, while in his view clearly neglecting other equally important classical Indian languages.
So it's a coordinated pushback from the state government.
It's a clear, deliberate policy shift from the state, designed to assert its cultural autonomy.
Okay, and what's the basis for this claim of bias?
Poyamozi didn't pull any punches when emphasizing India's rich linguistic heritage and disparity. He asserted that beyond Sanskrit, India proudly boasts 5 other classical languages, specifically Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, and Odia.
All with incredibly rich histories and literary traditions.
Yet, according to him and the state government, only Sanskrit receives undue prominence, a situation they find deeply unfair and discriminatory.
So the argument is about parity and recognition for all classical languages.
The message is unequivocal. India's linguistic tapestry is vibrant and diverse, and all its classical threads deserve equal respect and substantial support. He even mentioned that the textbook revision process is already well underway, with an official announcement expected soon. So this isn't just talk, it's tangible action.
Revisions to textbooks can be quite significant, reshaping how history and culture are taught.
The disparity becomes even more stark when you look at the hard numbers revealed by a right to information, or RTI, disclosure.
The RTI data, what did that show?
This transparency mechanism showed a staggering difference in financial allocation. Between 2014-15 and 2024-25, the Indian government allocated a colossal 2,532.59 crore, that's over 25 billion rupees, to promote Sanskrit.
25 billion rupees for Sanskrit promotion over 10 years. Okay.
Now, compare that to a mere euro 147.56 crore collectively for the five other classical languages.
Wow. So 2,500 crore versus less than 150 crore for five languages combined. That's a huge difference.
Chief Minister Stalin didn't mince words, denouncing this huge disparity and describing any verbal assurances of support for Tamil and other South Indian languages as nothing but crocodile tears, suggesting that such claims are insincere given the overwhelming financial reality.
Strong language, but understandable given those figures. It highlights a perceived gap between rhetoric and actual resource allocation.
But Tamil Nadu's efforts go beyond textbooks in their scope. The state also plans an awareness campaign through district collectors, specifically designed to address and eliminate communal influences in educational institutions.
Interesting. So it's linking the language issue to broader concerns about secularism and potential communal agendas in education.
That seems to be the implication. It indicates a broader aim to protect the secular fabric of education and perhaps to counter what they perceive as ideologically driven educational policies from the center. It's a comprehensive approach to what they view as a cultural and political challenge.
It broadens the scope significantly.
This development is adding significant fuel to a broader national debate that has been simmering for a while. The National Education Policy 2020, or NEP 2020, and its three-language formula have been consistent points of contention across various states.
Yes, the NEP and the three-language formula have faced resistance, particularly in the South.
Regional parties, particularly in Maharashtra, Karnataka, and of course Tamil Nadu, have increasingly opposed what they view as linguistic imposition, whether that's Sanskrit or Hindi, at the expense of their vibrant regional languages.
This feeling of imposition, whether real or perceived, is a powerful political force.
This isn't just about Sanskrit anymore. It's about the very nature of federalism and cultural autonomy within India's diverse union.
Exactly. This really represents both a powerful cultural assertion and a direct political challenge to central policies perceived as undermining India's rich linguistic diversity within the education system.
A challenge indeed.
It's a profound example of how language, far from being just a simple means of communication, becomes a powerful symbol of identity, power, and regional autonomy. When you see such a disproportionate allocation of resources, it naturally raises fundamental questions about priorities and equitable treatment, especially in a country as linguistically diverse as India.
You have to wonder about the impact.
It forces us to consider the implications for national unity if significant regional linguistic identities feel undervalued or even threatened by central policies. It's a delicate balance for a federal nation to strike.
A very delicate balance.
Yeah.
Okay, next we move to Maharashtra, where political tensions are escalating over very serious allegations of voter data manipulation.
Voter lists, another incredibly sensitive area.
This is the kind of story that, regardless of its ultimate veracity, can deeply shake public trust in the democratic process.
Absolutely. The integrity of the electoral roll is fundamental.
The accusation came directly from senior Congress MP Rahul Gandhi. Using social media, he accused the ruling BJP of manipulating voter data, which, as you might expect, prompted immediate and strong rebuttals from the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis.
High-profile accusation, high-profile rebuttal, standard political fare, but serious content.
Gandhi's specific claim was that the Maharashtra Assembly polls were marred by vote theft, and he cited a media report to back up his allegations.
Okay, so based on a media report, what did the report allege specifically?
Diving into the specifics, the media report highlighted a truly astonishing statistic: the Nagpur Southwest constituency, which happens to be Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis's own stronghold,
The CM's own seat. That raises the stakes.
saw an addition of over 29,000 new voters in just 6 months.
29,000 in 6 months in one constituency. That does sound like a lot.
This period was between the 2024 Lok Sabha elections and the subsequent state elections. Gandhi didn't just dismiss this as a clerical error or a series of glitches. He argued very pointedly that this wasn't an anomaly, but rather systematic electoral fraud, implying a deliberate, organized effort to influence the outcome in a key constituency.
A very serious charge, moving beyond glitches to alleged deliberate fraud.
In the rebuttal, Fadnavis wasn't merely defensive, he was sharply dismissive. He called the allegations baseless and accused Gandhi of shooting arrows blindly, suggesting a lack of solid evidence and a desperate attempt to deflect from his party's own electoral performance.
A strong counterattack, questioning the motive behind the accusation.
To underscore his dismissal and paint Gandhi's claims as falsehoods, Fadnavis even used a traditional Hindi phrase, "Juhuth bola kawa kake," which literally translates to, A liar gets bitten by a crow.
A very colloquial and pointed dismissal.
He vehemently denied any wrongdoing and criticized the Congress for spreading what he termed misinformation.
So a flat denial and counteraccusation.
But the controversy didn't stop there. It quickly led to further escalation and demands. Maharashtra Congress Chief Harshvardhan Sapkal quickly jumped into the fray, demanding Fadnavis's resignation.
Upping the ante. Resignation demand.
Sapkal, echoing Gandhi, described the voter list changes as outright electoral fraud. He specifically highlighted what he called an unexplained 8% increase in voters in the CM's constituency in 5 months, arguing that this warrants much greater scrutiny and complete transparency in voter registration processes.
Putting a percentage on it, 8% increase in 5 months, makes the number seem even more stark, and calling for transparency.
So it's not just a political accusation, it's a direct demand for accountability and a closer, independent look at the very mechanisms of election management.
Right. What's truly fascinating here is how such allegations, regardless of their ultimate veracity, can dramatically intensify political rivalries and, more importantly, raise broader concerns about electoral transparency and governance credibility in one of India's most politically influential states.
It definitely casts a shadow.
In any democracy, the integrity of the electoral process is absolutely paramount. Any claims of voter manipulation, whether proven or not, have the potential to significantly erode public trust in the system itself.
That's the real danger, isn't it?
This kind of public dispute can shake public confidence in the electoral system, potentially leading to questions about the legitimacy of elected officials, even if there's no concrete evidence of fraud. It's a high-stakes blame game that carries profound consequences for the public's perception of democratic fairness.
Definitely something to watch. Okay, staying on the political front, there's an interesting and nuanced discussion involving senior Congress leader Shashi Tharoor and his recent praise for Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
Tharoor always generates discussion with his views.
This truly explores the complex and often tricky relationship between party loyalty and national interest in a vibrant democracy.
That line between party politics and national interest, especially in foreign policy.
The whole situation started with the article and its stir. Tharoor had penned a piece where he praised Prime Minister Narendra Modi, particularly regarding Operation Sindoor, India's diplomatic outreach after the tragic Pahalgam terror attack.
Okay, praising the PM's handling of a specific diplomatic initiative.
In that article, Tharoor lauded Modi's global engagement as a prime asset that, in his view, warranted broader political backing from across the entire political spectrum.
Calling the PM's engagement a prime asset for the nation, that's significant praise from an opposition leader.
Naturally, such praise from a prominent opposition figure for the prime minister stirred considerable discomfort within his own party, the Congress.
Understandably, it can be seen as undermining the party's critical stance.
Especially given that Tharoor's views have occasionally diverged from the party line in the past. It definitely raised eyebrows and led to a lot of internal murmuring and questions about his intentions.
Yeah, people start wondering if he's signaling something, maybe looking to switch sides.
Tharoor was quick to offer his defense and invoke the water's edge principle. Responding to the criticism, he emphasized that his remarks were not a signal of him preparing to join the BJP.
Explicitly denying that.
But rather statements deeply rooted in patriotism and a desire for nonpartisan support for India's foreign policy efforts. He directly cited a very well-known American political maxim that political differences should end at the water's edge.
The idea that when dealing with the rest of the world, the country should present a united front.
What he meant by this was that international diplomacy should reflect a united Indian front, transcending narrow party affiliations. He maintained that foreign policy, particularly concerning national security and global standing, should not be viewed through the narrow prism of BJP or Congress agendas, but solely as a matter of national interest.
A classic argument for bipartisanship in foreign affairs. Makes sense intellectually, but often hard to practice politically.
It's a common argument in mature democracies, but one that is always tested in the heat of political battles, especially in a country as polarized as India can be.
Absolutely.
To further solidify his position and demonstrate his consistency and loyalty, Tharoor highlighted his own past actions. He pointed out that his delegation had traveled to multiple global capitals to rally support and underline Pakistan's terror links in the wake of the Pahalgam attack, showcasing India's unified stance on such critical issues.
So arguing his actions match his words, he has supported national efforts before.
He stressed that acknowledging Modi's leadership on the world stage, particularly in a diplomatic context, did not in any way dilute his fundamental commitment to the Congress Party or its core principles.
Trying to draw a clear line, national interest praise doesn't equal party disloyalty.
He even reiterated past statements from his tenure as chairman of the External Affairs Committee, noting that he has long supported cross-party consensus in foreign policy matters. So for him, this wasn't a new or radical stance, but a consistent application of his belief that foreign policy should rise above partisan politics.
Building a case for consistency in his viewpoint over time.
Right.
This really raises an important question about the fine line between patriotic duty and party loyalty in a political landscape. While Tharoor's article was even shared by the Prime Minister's office, amplifying its message.
Which adds another layer to it.
Congress leaders clearly remain uneasy about Tharoor's tone and the potential for it to be misinterpreted or even strategically exploited by political opponents.
The political calculation is always there.
Tharoor's subsequent reaffirmation of his loyalty to the party, particularly ahead of upcoming by-polls in Kerala where every seat matters, vividly underlines the constant tension between individual conviction and party cohesion in a vibrant democracy like India.
That timing is definitely relevant.
It's a truly delicate balance for any politician to navigate, especially one as articulate and intellectually independent as Shashi Tharoor.
A fascinating dynamic. Okay, our final political story in this segment is a contentious one from West Bengal, where Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has leveled very serious accusations against the BJP regarding migrant workers.
Another deeply sensitive issue, migrant workers, identity, and interstate relations.
This is an issue that taps into deep veins of identity, language, and fundamental constitutional rights.
Absolutely. Freedom of movement, right to livelihood, protection against discrimination.
The core allegation from Mamata Banerjee is stark and impactful. She has strongly criticized the BJP, alleging that Bengali-speaking migrant workers from West Bengal are being falsely branded as Bangladeshis and subsequently deported from BJP-ruled states.
Wow. It's a huge allegation. Falsely labeling Indian citizens as foreigners and deporting them.
A very serious claim, implying a systemic discrimination based on language and regional origin within India, potentially affecting millions of people.
Based purely on the language they speak.
She elaborated on what she perceives as clear linguistic discrimination. Banerjee claimed that these individuals are recruited for their skills and labor in other states, but are later targeted and harassed merely for speaking Bengali, a language she emphatically emphasized is rooted in Indian heritage.
So the claim is they're welcome for their labor, but then targeted for their linguistic identity.
She questioned the very notion of penalizing someone for speaking a language that is intrinsically part of India's rich cultural mosaic. For her, this isn't just about language, it's an attack on a specific cultural identity and a regional community.
Framing it as an attack on Bengali culture itself.
Banerjee provided detailed accounts of reported incidents and state intervention. According to her, her government has received several reports of such deportations, including a very specific and recent case involving 300 to 400 people in Rajasthan.
Specific numbers and a specific state mentioned. Rajasthan, a BJP-ruled state.
She asserted unequivocally that all those affected are legitimate residents of West Bengal and, crucially, Indian citizens, not foreigners. She further stated that the West Bengal state government has had to intervene in multiple cases to bring these allegedly deported individuals back from Bangladesh, where they were presumably sent without due process.
So West Bengal claims it's had to actively retrieve its citizens from across the border. That's extraordinary.
She also cited similar episodes from Delhi and Madhya Pradesh, both of which are BJP-led states, implying a troubling pattern of behavior across states governed by the BJP.
Suggesting it's not an isolated incident, but potentially a wider pattern in BJP-ruled areas.
She then broadened her argument to address what she sees as a fundamental threat to pluralism. Banerjee argued forcefully that the BJP's alleged linguistic discrimination undermines India's secular and pluralistic traditions,
connecting it to the core values of the Indian Constitution.
She put forward a provocative question for the nation to consider. Would speaking other regional languages like Tamil or Nepali also lead to such expulsions in other states?
A rhetorical challenge, basically asking if any non-Hindi speaker is potentially vulnerable.
Her point was clear and impactful. Multilingualism should be seen as a strength, not a liability, a core principle that underlies India's incredibly diverse social fabric.
Reinforcing the value of linguistic diversity.
Finally, she articulated a call for awareness, pledging to alert Prime Minister Narendra Modi to the situation.
Taking it to the highest level.
This gesture suggested she believes the Prime Minister may be unaware of these reported incidents, or perhaps it was a strategic move to pressure the central leadership to intervene and address the issue. She specifically questioned whether the BJP considers speaking Bengali, a language that produced luminaries like Rabindranath Tagore and Swami Vivekananda, as a crime, highlighting the deep cultural and historical roots of the language in India.
Invoking major cultural figures to emphasize the legitimacy and heritage of the Bengali language within India, a powerful emotional appeal.
Very much so.
This situation truly frames the controversy as a fundamental violation of India's democratic values and linguistic diversity. It raises an incredibly important question about how language, which is such a cornerstone of identity for hundreds of millions, can be so easily politicized to create divisions and potentially lead to the marginalization of specific communities.
It's a worrying prospect.
Banerjee's act of highlighting West Bengal's historically inclusive ethos, noting that over 1.5 crore, that's 15 million migrant workers from other states, live and work there peacefully without facing such discrimination, provides a powerful counterpoint to these allegations.
Setting up a contrast.
It challenges you, the listener, to consider what kind of national identity is being fostered when linguistic differences are allegedly used to deny citizenship rights and expel people from their own country. It's a profound statement about national values.
Really makes you think. Okay, let's shift our focus now from the intricacies of politics to the exciting progress and future-shaping developments underway in India. First up, a major leap for Bihar, and a significant step forward for India's entire energy landscape: the approval of the state's very first nuclear power plant.
Nuclear power in Bihar, that's a significant development for the state's energy future.
This is truly a milestone for energy security.
Definitely. Big infrastructure move.
This marks Bihar's energy milestone. The Indian central government has officially approved a proposal to establish Bihar's very first nuclear power plant. This isn't just a minor infrastructural project, it signifies a major advancement in the state's energy capabilities, setting it firmly on a path toward greater energy self-reliance and long-term stability.
For a state like Bihar, reliable power is absolutely crucial for development and industrialization.
For a state like Bihar, which has traditionally faced energy challenges, this is a truly transformative development that could unlock significant industrial growth.
Yeah, consistent baseload power changes the game.
This local approval also clearly feeds into a broader national nuclear ambition. Union Power Minister Manohar Lal, announcing this approval at the Power Ministers' Conference in Patna, made it clear that this isn't an isolated decision.
Part of a bigger plan.
He emphasized the center's overarching goal to eventually build nuclear power plants in every single Indian state. The strategic aim here is crystal clear: to significantly enhance national energy security, diversifying India's power mix, and critically reducing reliance on traditional, often carbon-intensive fossil fuels.
Wow, nuclear plants in every state, that's incredibly ambitious. A massive long-term infrastructure goal.
It's a strategic move for long-term sustainability and independence.
Balancing energy security with climate goals is the key challenge. Nuclear offers low-carbon baseload power.
But the center isn't putting all its energy eggs in one basket. It's going beyond nuclear with a strong renewable push as well.
Good to hear. A diversified strategy is essential.
In addition to the nuclear initiative, they've also given in-principle approval to Bihar's request for a 1,000 millidevi battery storage project under viability gap funding, or VGF.
1,000 megawatts of battery storage. That's substantial, and the VGF support is key to making these large storage projects happen.
Now, for those unfamiliar, viability gap funding is essentially a government grant designed to make otherwise financially unfeasible, but socially and economically desirable, infrastructure projects financially viable. This is a crucial step that further strengthens the state's renewable energy infrastructure.
Exactly. Storage is the missing piece for large-scale renewable integration. It tackles the intermittency problem.
Battery storage, as you know, is vital for making intermittent renewable sources like solar and wind more reliable and dispatchable, ensuring a steady, uninterrupted supply of power. So Bihar is getting a dual boost: nuclear for baseload stability and advanced storage for seamless renewable integration.
That's a smart combination. Nuclear for the steady base, storage to manage the peaks and troughs of renewables.
Lal also highlighted India's power transformation on a national scale. He painted an impressive picture of a nation that has moved from being a power-deficient country to one capable of not only meeting its domestic demand, but actually exporting electricity to neighboring nations.
That's a remarkable turnaround in a relatively short time, from shortages to exporting power.
He cited Myanmar, Bhutan, and Bangladesh as examples of countries benefiting from India's growing power surplus. This speaks volumes about India's significant strides in power generation and efficient grid management over the past decade.
Building regional energy connections, too.
It's a complete reversal of fortunes for the power sector.
But demand is also rising rapidly, right?
The reason for this ambitious expansion is tied to truly massive demand projections. India's peak power demand has seen explosive growth. To give you some context, it hit a whopping 250 gigawatts, or GW, in May 2024.
250 GW peak demand. Huge number.
And has already seen 242 gigawatt recorded in 2025 thus far. The projections are even more staggering. This figure is estimated to climb to 270 GW later this year, and then to a colossal 446 GW by 2034-35.
446 GW, almost double the current peak in about a decade. That's incredible growth. Meeting that requires massive investment across the board.
That's nearly double the current demand in just a decade, requiring a multi-pronged, aggressive strategy to ensure supply consistently meets this burgeoning demand.
This truly raises an important question about how such escalating demand can be met sustainably without compromising crucial environmental goals or national energy security.
The big challenge.
Lal stressed that it absolutely requires strategic planning and strong coordination, not just between the center and state governments, but also with all energy stakeholders, private players, researchers, and communities.
Everyone needs to be on board.
This announcement underscores the government's long-term holistic energy vision and places Bihar in a pivotal role within this national strategy. By embracing both cutting-edge nuclear power and advanced storage technologies, the state is poised to bolster its energy independence, catalyze industrial growth, and contribute meaningfully to the national power grid, ensuring it can keep pace with this rapidly increasing demand while pursuing a cleaner energy future.
A really significant step for Bihar and for India's energy map. Okay, from Earth's energy to outer space, India is making history with its first astronaut on a private international mission.
Ah, the Axiom 4 mission with Group Captain Shukla. Very exciting development.
This is truly a landmark moment for India's burgeoning space ambitions and its role in the global space economy.
A sign of India engaging more deeply with the commercial space sector.
This is truly a historic first for India. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, affectionately known as Shucks, is said to etch his name in history as the very first Indian astronaut to travel to space as part of a private international mission.
So not purely an ISRO mission, but a collaboration with a private company, Axiom Space.
Exactly. This isn't just about government space agencies anymore. It signifies a pivotal new chapter in India's engagement with the global commercial space industry. It shows a diversification of India's space program, moving beyond purely state-run initiatives.
Embracing the new space economy.
Let's look at the mission details. His journey is scheduled to launch on June 25, 2025, taking him to the International Space Station, or ISS, aboard the Axiom 4 X4 mission.
Launching today, according to the headline.
This isn't a brief jaunt. It's a substantive 14-day scientific expedition. The mission itself is operated by Axiom Space, a private aerospace firm whose grander vision is to make space travel more accessible.
And they're planning their own commercial space station, right, to eventually succeed the ISS.
That's the plan. Ultimately, they aim to build their own private space station to eventually replace the aging ISS. So Shukla isn't just on a flight. He's part of a pioneering commercial endeavor that seeks to transform human spaceflight.
Gaining experience at the cutting edge of commercial space development.
This mission holds immense significance for India's space program. Shukla's selection comes after over a year of anticipation, ever since Prime Minister Narendra Modi introduced him as India's astronaut designate for the indigenous Gaganyaan mission.
Right, he was one of the astronauts selected for India's own human spaceflight program.
While the Gaganyaan mission, India's own human spaceflight program, is still under development and hasn't launched a human to space yet, Shukla's participation in AX4 offers invaluable real-world experience, practical insights, and opens doors for significant global collaboration opportunities.
It's a great way to get flight experience and learn from established players while Gaganyaan progresses. Kind of a stepping stone.
It's a pragmatic way for India to gain crucial expertise and build international partnerships, even as its own ambitious indigenous program matures.
Makes a lot of sense strategically.
The AX4 mission itself is a testament to the power of global collaboration in space. The crew includes astronauts from the United States, Poland, and Hungary,
A truly international crew.
making it a truly international endeavor, a melting pot of scientific and exploratory talent. The mission will be led by the veteran American astronaut Peggy Whitson.
Peggy Whitson, a legend in spaceflight, holds the U.S. record for time in space.
Known for holding the U.S. record for the most cumulative days spent in space. So Shukla will be learning from the best and contributing to a diverse, multinational scientific effort, showcasing India's increasing integration into the global space community.
Fantastic opportunity for him and for India's space program.
Absolutely.
This flight genuinely marks India's growing presence in global space exploration, signaling a notable shift from purely state-run programs like ISRO's Gaganyaan to active involvement in international commercial missions.
A clear shift.
It also underscores Axiom Space's broader vision of transforming human spaceflight by facilitating more research-driven missions and essentially opening low Earth orbit access to a wider range of nations and individuals beyond the traditional space powers.
Democratizing space access, in a way.
In a way, yes. Shukla's journey symbolizes both a personal achievement of incredible proportions and a source of immense national pride, taking India's space ambitions another bold step forward, positioning it firmly in the exciting new era of commercial spaceflight. It's about leveraging global opportunities while building national capabilities.
A great moment for India in space.
Okay.
Let's now dive into the fascinating world of finance, specifically the surge in demand for India's riskiest corporate bonds.
The BBB-rated segment. Always an interesting indicator of risk appetite in the market.
This might sound counterintuitive, investors rushing towards riskier assets, but it reveals a lot about the current economic climate and the underlying appetite of investors seeking higher returns.
Exactly. When yields on safer assets fall, investors often look further down the credit spectrum for better returns if they're comfortable with the risk.
The trend is quite clear. India's riskiest investment-grade corporate bonds, those specifically rated BBB plus NUMA, BBB, and BBB-VA, are experiencing a significant surge in demand.
So the lower end of investment grade, just above junk or high yield status.
To give you some context, these aren't wild startup bets, but they are considered the lowest rung of investment grade, meaning they carry more risk than, say, a government bond, but are still deemed relatively safe enough for professional investors. They're drawing a lot of attention because of what they offer.
Higher potential returns, but also higher potential risk of default compared to AA or AAA rated bonds.
So, who's investing and why? It's primarily high net worth individuals, alternative investment funds, or AIFs, and a growing number of online platforms.
A broader range of investors getting involved, not just the big institutions.
They are all chasing higher yields, which makes perfect sense in an environment where benchmark interest rates are falling. For instance, the yield on India's 10-year government bond recently dropped to about 6.27%.
Relatively low by historical standards.
In the stark contrast, these BBB-rated bonds can offer returns in the double digits, as high as 14% to 15%.
14 to 15%. That's a huge difference compared to 6.27%. The yield spread is massive.
That creates a significant spread, a huge difference in returns, which has understandably drawn a lot of investor attention, especially from those looking for better returns in traditional government securities or even safer corporate bonds. Think of it like this. If you can get double the return for a slightly elevated but still manageable risk, it becomes very attractive.
Especially if investors believe the economy is stable or improving, reducing the perceived risk of default.
We're seeing truly dramatic growth in issuances for these bonds. The numbers tell a powerful story. The number of BBB-rated bond issuances rose sharply, nearly six-fold, from just 75 in financial year 2022 to a whopping 450 in FY25.
75 to 450 issuances in just 3 years. That's explosive growth.
In terms of value, over 17,600 crore was raised in FY25 alone, and we've already seen nearly 6,000 crore issued in FY26 through June 19th.
Significant amounts being raised in this segment.
While 2024 did see a notable spike driven by a single large deal, Goswami Infratech's 14,300 crore deal at an attractive 18.75%.
That large deal would skew the numbers a bit, but the underlying trend is still growth.
The overall activity in this segment is clearly showing consistent and steady growth, indicating a fundamental and lasting shift in market interest toward these higher-yielding securities.
So it's not just one big deal, there's broader activity.
A key factor enabling this trend is the democratization of access. Platforms like India Bonds, INR Bonds, and Bond Bazaar have effectively democratized access to these types of investments.
Fintech platforms making it easier for smaller investors and individuals to buy corporate bonds.
They are now enabling smaller institutions and even wealthy individual investors to directly participate in a market that was once largely the exclusive domain of big institutional players. This broader participation, making these bonds accessible to a wider pool of capital, is certainly a major contributor to the surge in demand.
Widening the investor base definitely helps fuel demand.
We've also seen specific examples of appetite that highlight this demand. Deals such as Indify Capital's UT Core bond issue at 13.5% and True Credit's 10 Core issue at 18% clearly reflect this strong appetite for higher-yielding debt.
13.5%, 18%. Those are very high yields, reflecting the perceived risk of those specific companies.
This demand is particularly pronounced for short-term instruments, typically those with a maturity of 1 to 1.5 years, where credit risks are generally perceived as easier to manage and predict.
Focusing on shorter terms. That makes sense. Less time for things to go wrong, easier to assess the near-term outlook.
Investors are essentially betting on strong fundamentals and potential upgrades for these companies, even though these BBB-rated securities inherently carry higher credit risk compared to their higher-rated counterparts.
Hoping the companies perform well, maybe even get a rating upgrade, which would boost the bond's value.
They're willing to take on more risk
Yeah.
because they see the potential for significantly more reward and believe they can manage that risk over a shorter horizon.
A calculated risk, essentially. What's truly fascinating here is that while institutional participation is indeed rising, market experts still caution that the returns on these bonds are quasi-equity in nature.
What's equity?
Meaning their risk and potential returns are closer to owning a share in a company, rather than the more predictable, stable returns of traditional loans or safer bonds. You're taking on more company-specific risk.
Got it. More like an equity investment in terms of risk profile.
They also note that spreads, the difference between these bond yields and safer government bonds, remain wide due to perceived credit risks and selective bank lending. In essence, traditional lenders like big banks might still be hesitant to lend to these companies, leaving room for these higher yields to attract other investors.
So banks are still cautious, which keeps the yields high for bond investors stepping in.
Exactly. Nonetheless, the BBB segment has undeniably become a hot spot for return-hungry investors, seeking alternatives to traditional fixed income as India's corporate bond market continues to deepen and diversify. It's a clear sign of a maturing and expanding market, but also one where investors need to be acutely aware of the elevated risks they are undertaking for those attractive double-digit returns.
Buyer beware, essentially. High reward comes with high risk. Okay, finally, in this segment, a critical discussion emerging from India's top educational institutions. The IITs are urging students to look beyond computer science.
The perennial debate about engineering stream choices, the dominance of computer science.
This highlights a fascinating tension between what the job market currently demands and what the nation truly needs for long-term development.
The lure of high salaries versus the need for core engineering skills for national infrastructure and industry.
There's a palpable concern from top IINs. Leaders from several Indian institutes of technology, including prestigious ones like Madras, Delhi, Kanpur, and Roorkee, are openly raising concerns about what they're calling unbalanced academic interest.
Top directors speaking out, what are they worried about specifically?
They're worried about the neglect of critical engineering fields and are actively urging students to explore disciplines beyond the seemingly all-encompassing field of computer science, which has become the default choice for so many.
The herd mentality towards computer science, driven by job prospects.
So what's the why behind the unbalance? IIT Madras director V. Kamakodi articulated it clearly. He acknowledged that yes, computer science offers rapid placements and incredibly high starting salaries.
You can't deny the immediate financial attraction.
Which is a huge, undeniable draw for ambitious students and their parents. However, he emphasized a crucial counterpoint. Long-term nation building requires strong participation in foundational engineering disciplines.
The bigger picture argument.
He highlighted the inherent danger of reduced student intake in core branches like civil, mechanical, chemical, and metallurgical engineering. His stark warning was that this trend threatens India's capacity for self-reliance in infrastructure and industrial development.
Absolutely. You need civil engineers for bridges, mechanical for machines, chemical for processes, metallurgical for materials. These are fundamental.
Think about it. If everyone's coding apps, who's building the roads, the bridges, the new factories, the next generation of power plants, or the advanced materials critical for defense and manufacturing?
A critical question for national capability.
IIT Delhi director Rangan Banerjee echoed this sentiment, attributing the overwhelming popularity of computer science primarily to market-driven perceptions and parental pressure, rather than genuine student passion for the subject itself.
Pointing to external pressures influencing student choices over intrinsic interest.
He underscored that many emerging areas such as sustainable energy, biomedical engineering, and advanced manufacturing desperately need urgent attention and talented minds. These fields, he argued, are absolutely critical for innovation and leadership in the coming decades.
Areas crucial for tackling future challenges like climate change, healthcare, and advanced industry.
And if the talent pool remains overwhelmingly skewed towards just one area, India might fall behind in these strategically important sectors that are vital for its holistic growth.
Risk of becoming a one-trick pony, technologically speaking.
The conclave didn't just focus on computer science, it also touched on the risks of excessive specialization and the undervaluation of interdisciplinary education. Directors advocated for a more balanced admissions process.
How would they balance admissions? Quotas? Or just better counseling?
It seems more about awareness. This isn't about restricting student choices, but about providing better awareness campaigns to reshape public attitudes toward core engineering disciplines. It's about showcasing their immense relevance, their significant impact on society, and their long-term career prospects that extend far beyond just immediate high salaries.
Trying to change the narrative around core engineering highlight its importance and long-term value.
The idea is to help students realize the broad and impactful difference they can make in these foundational areas, contributing to national development in a very tangible way.
Right. This call to diversify student interest comes amid very real concerns that India's technological future could become skewed if educational choices remain overwhelmingly concentrated in just a few high-demand fields.
A potential imbalance.
The directors underlined the critical importance of a well-rounded talent pipeline across all engineering disciplines to effectively address pressing national challenges in areas like massive infrastructure development, cutting-edge defense technology, and crucial climate resilience solutions.
Need expertise across the spectrum.
Broad-based engineering education, they argued, is not just about individual career paths, but is absolutely vital to the nation's long-term progress. It ensures India has the diverse expertise needed to solve complex, multifaceted problems and drive truly comprehensive growth across all sectors. It's a long-term, strategic investment in the nation's future capabilities.
A really important message from the IITs. Okay. For our final headline, we turn to a very tangible issue that directly affects everyday consumers. The ongoing fight against counterfeit personal care products, specifically highlighted by recent crackdowns in Kolkata.
Counterfeit goods, a persistent problem, especially with everyday items.
This is something that can literally touch your skin, and it's a huge problem, not just for businesses, but for public health and the economy.
Yeah, the health risks can be significant with fake cosmetics or personal care items.
The story begins with the crackdown. The Enforcement Branch, or EB, conducted targeted raids on wholesalers in North and Central Kolkata. Their primary objective: to seize and shut down operations involved in allegedly stocking and selling counterfeit personal care products.
Going after the supply chain, the wholesalers.
This isn't just about cheap knockoffs of luxury items. We're talking about everyday essentials like talcum powder, body cream, and face wash products that people apply directly to their skin, making their safety paramount.
Exactly. Things people use daily, trusting they are safe.
This action wasn't random. It followed the complaint and the mimicry involved. A formal complaint was lodged at Chitpur Police Station by Manik Chakraborty, who is the operations manager of a brand protection firm.
So industry action prompting the authorities.
This firm represents 3 legitimate pharmaceutical companies from Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and Gurgaon. The complaint specifically detailed that the accused entities were involved in unauthorized manufacturing and distribution of fake products.
The whole chain, from making to selling.
The crucial and insidious detail here is that these fake products closely mimic the logos, designs, and packaging of legitimate brands.
Designed to deceive, making it really hard for consumers to spot the fake.
This isn't just similar, it's meticulously designed to deceive, to look so much like the real thing that unsuspecting consumers can't tell the difference, making them vulnerable.
That's the real danger. People think they're buying the genuine article.
Chakraborty, representing the affected brands, emphasized the far-reaching impact of these counterfeit goods. First and foremost, and perhaps most alarmingly, he pointed out that the proliferation of such products poses substantial health risks to unsuspecting buyers.
Unknown ingredients, unhygienic manufacturing could cause rashes, allergies, or worse.
Imagine unregulated, untested chemicals in creams or powders. They could potentially cause serious dermatological issues, severe allergic reactions, or worse. Beyond the immediate health concerns, this deceptive practice also misleads consumers, making them pay for something they think is genuine when it's not, effectively stealing their money.
Financial loss on top of the health risk.
Economically, it causes significant financial damage to original manufacturers, eating into their market share, eroding their profits, and damaging their hard-earned reputation.
Undermining legitimate businesses.
And importantly, it results in government revenue loss because these illicit operations often evade taxes and operate outside legal frameworks. Finally, and perhaps most insidiously, it erodes consumer trust in brands.
If you get burned by a fake, you might avoid the brand altogether.
And over time, diminishes the credibility of genuine products across the market. If you buy a fake once, you might start doubting all products from that brand or even the entire product category.
It creates uncertainty and damages the whole market. This truly highlights a growing and concerning issue in India. The pervasive fake goods market, particularly rampant in high-demand segments like personal care, where brand reputation and, more importantly, product safety are absolutely critical.
Seems like a constant battle.
The EB's crackdown is a vital step aimed at dismantling the complex supply chain of these illicit operations and, most critically, to safeguard consumer rights and public health. While officials have not yet disclosed the identities of the accused or the specific quantities of goods seized as investigations are ongoing and further legal action is expected.
So more details might emerge later.
This case underscores the crucial need for heightened vigilance and significantly stricter regulatory enforcement. It's not just about protecting big brands and their profits. It's fundamentally about protecting the health, safety, and financial well-being of every consumer from the insidious and dangerous nature of counterfeit trade. It's a fight for trust and safety in the marketplace.
A really important fight indeed. And there you have it, a true deep dive into the diverse and dynamic headlines shaping India on June 25th, 2025. From the nuanced struggles on the cricket field and complex political tensions, to ambitious energy projects pushing boundaries, and the vital fight against counterfeit goods impacting everyday lives.
It's quite a mix.
It's clear that India is a nation constantly in motion, facing challenges and pushing for progress simultaneously.
We've seen how truly interconnected these issues are, how a seemingly isolated event, like a cricket loss, can spark broader discussions about team leadership and national psyche.
Yeah, it connects to so much more.
Or how a linguistic debate, seemingly about textbooks, can highlight deeper questions of federalism, cultural identity, and equitable resource allocation. It truly impacts everything from education and economic investment to public trust and the very fabric of national unity.
The ripple effects are huge. Our mission here is always to go beyond the surface, helping you understand the so what behind the headlines to give you that crucial context and insight that truly makes you well-informed and engaged with the world.
As India navigates its rapid ascent across so many sectors, how does a nation balance the relentless push for economic progress and technological advancement with the equally critical need to protect its foundational values, be they linguistic diversity, democratic integrity, or public safety?
That's the core tension, isn't it?
It's a complex and continuous balancing act, always in motion, always evolving.
That's a question for you to ponder as you go about your day, freshly informed. Thank you for diving deep with us.